Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Arunodayam's Biology. Today we are going to learn about one more important life process in living organisms, that is excretion. One of the most important life process in case of living organisms. So far we are learning about life process. No, we have learned about nutrition, respiration, transportation, and now we are going to learn about excretion. So in our previous topics, we have learned how gaseous waste materials are generated and getting rid of the plant and animal bodies during photosynthesis and respiration, isn't it? So, in our previous videos, in our previous life process topics, we have learned that gaseous waste materials are produced in living organisms. Say, for example, in case of plants, during photosynthesis, oxygen is produced as a waste product. Okay, it will get rid of the plant body through the stomata present in their leaves. Okay, take respiration in case of plants. So during respiration, carbon dioxide gas is produced as a waste material and it also leaves the plant body through the stomata of the leaves. Okay, coming to respiration in case of animals. In case of animals, during respiration, carbon dioxide gas is produced as waste material and it will be removed from our body through some respiratory organs. Say for example, we have nostrils. We have nose and nostrils. Through these nose and nostrils, this waste carbon dioxide will get rid of our body. So, in our previous life process topics, we have learnt that some gaseous waste materials are produced in living organisms, and we have also learned how they are getting rid of body also. Now we are going to learn how nitrogenous waste materials are produced in our body and how these waste materials are removing out of our body. So now we are going to learn about how nitrogenous waste materials are producing in living organisms and how they are getting rid of living organisms body. Okay, so in case of living organisms, so many metabolic activities takes place. Say for example, nutrition, respiration, transportation, reproduction, all these are life processes only. Okay, so during these life processes, so many waste materials will be produced. So many waste materials will be produced, especially nitrogen containing waste materials are produced during metabolic activities. So that means nitrogen containing substances, nitrogen containing waste materials. These nitrogen containing substances are not useful for our body. Moreover, if they are not get rid of our body, they will accumulate in our blood. They causes diseases to us, they become poisonous and causes death to us also. Okay, so these nitrogenous waste materials are harmful to us, harmful to living organisms. So these nitrogenous waste materials are produced during metabolic activities and they have to be get rid of the body. That process, biological process involved in the removal of these harmful metabolic waste is called as excretion. So removal of these harmful metabolic waste materials, that means nitrogenous waste materials, from the body through a biological process called as excretion. Okay, so different organisms uses different strategies for removing these waste materials to outside. Different organisms use different strategies. Okay, in case of unicellular organisms like amoeba, paramecium, euglena, all these organisms body is made up of only one cell. No, so in these organisms excretion is very simple. It takes place through a process called as a simple diffusion. Simple diffusion, that means, say for example, take amoeba as an example. So in case of amoeba, a contractile vacuole is present in paramecium and amoeba. A vacuole is present, it will collect all the waste materials produced in the cell, in the body of that organism. That vacuole moves to the surface of the plant body, it will burst out, opens and releases those waste materials into surrounding water. This process is called as a diffusion. Actually, maybe you remember the definition of diffusion. Diffusion means movement of molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration, isn't it? So here also, in case of these unicellular organisms, what is happening here? The vacuole is collecting the waste materials. No? So this vacuole has high concentration of waste materials when compared to the substances present in the surrounding water in which they are living. So according to this law of diffusion, the molecules move from high concentration to low concentration. That means nitrogenous waste materials will move from the vacuole to outside water. Okay, that is how takes place excretion takes place in case of unicellular organisms. Very simple. But in case of multicellular organisms like us, diffusion is not enough to pass out all the nitrogenous waste materials. So in case of multicellular organisms like birds, mammals, fishes, amphibians, reptiles, even insects, in all these organisms some specialized organs are present for the removal of these waste materials. Some specialized organs are present. Say for example, in case of human beings, kidneys has excretory organs. So those kidneys will collect the waste materials from the body and they will remove those waste materials to outside by some process. So now we are going to learn about that process only. Now we are going to learn how kidneys work in case of human beings, how excretion takes place in case of human beings. Let us learn how excretion takes place in case of human beings. So excretion in case of human beings takes place through a system called as excretory system. It contains group of organs which perform the function of excretion. So excretory system of human beings contains a pair of kidneys. So these two reddish brown bean shaped structures are called as kidneys. So a pair of kidneys are present and a pair of ureters are present. So from these kidneys one long tube has arisen. These tubes are called as ureters. So these two ureters and a sac-like structure called as a urinary bladder. So these two ureters join into a sac-like structure called as urinary bladder, and the opening of this urinary bladder is called as urethra. So these are the excretory organs present in case of human beings. A pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters, one urinary bladder and urethra. So these are 4 organs present in the excretory system of human beings. Okay, so what happens here is urine is produced in kidneys as waste material. So many metabolic activities takes place in our body. So nitrogenous waste materials are produced. So these waste materials are brought to kidneys through blood. Through blood, these waste materials will enter into kidneys. So in kidneys, a filtration takes place. And urine is produced. This urine, which is produced in the kidneys, passes through these ureters into urinary bladder. So the urine which is produced in kidneys passes through these ureters and enters into this sac-like structure called as urinary bladder. After filling the storage capacity, after crossing the storage capacity of this urinary bladder, this urethra opens and urine will be discharged outside. So this is how happens in our excretory system. So how urine is produced here? So how waste material is produced in kidneys? So as I said, the waste materials, nitrogenous waste materials which are produced in different cells of our body are brought to kidneys through blood. So in case of transportation, we have seen that blood carries the deoxygenated blood which is present on the right side of the heart will pass to the lungs for purification, isn't it? So the blood which is present in the right side of the heart passes through the blood vessel into lungs. So in the lungs, the carbon dioxide is removed and oxygen is added. So same like that here also, waste materials which are produced in different cells of our body are brought to kidneys through lungs. Brought to kidneys through blood. So in kidneys, filtration takes place. A waste product called as urine is produced, and that urine contains urea, uric acid, ammonia, like these nitrogenous waste materials, and that will pass through these organs and ultimately discharges out of the body. So structure of kidney we have discussed. Now we have to learn how the kidney functioning takes place. We have to learn a functioning of kidneys. Okay, so who will bring nitrogenous waste materials to kidneys? Renal artery brings. So renal artery is a blood vessel. It brings a blood which contains nitrogenous waste materials to kidneys. This is renal artery. It divides into 2 branches and supplies that blood to these 2 kidneys. After entering into the kidneys, the blood after entering into the kidneys, filtration takes place here. Okay, kidney contains millions and millions of structural units called as nephrons. So here in nephrons only filtration of blood takes place and urine is produced. Let us learn how it takes place. So what happens here? Who will bring the blood with nitrogenous waste materials to kidneys? Renal artery, isn't it? So after entering into kidney, the renal artery divides into so many branches, and each branch enters into each nephron. Each nephron. So what happens here? Who will bring the blood with nitrogenous waste materials to kidneys? Renal artery, isn't it? So after entering into kidney, the renal artery divides into so many branches, and each branch enters into each nephron. Each nephron. Okay. And that means 1.3 to 1.4 millions of nephrons are present now. So this renal artery will divide into 1.3 to 1.4 millions of branches, and each branch enters into this cup shaped structure called Bowman's capsule. After entering into this Bowman's capsule, this renal artery again divides into so many minute hair-like branches. They form a network called as glomerulus. So many blood capillaries are produced, and this network of blood capillaries is called as a glomerulus. Okay, so here filtration of blood takes place. So between the blood capillaries, they'll have gaps. So because of the presence of these gaps, this glomerulus looks like a sieve. So through these sieve only filtration takes place, and purified blood will pass on to one side, and waste substances will pass on to other side. So the waste materials, metabolic waste materials, nitrogenous waste materials, and water will be produced here, and it passes through this tubule as primary urine. So primary urine is produced after filtration here. So this urine contains so many waste materials and water. It passes through this tube. So while passing this tube, some amount of useful substances and water will get reabsorbed. So during filtration, by mistake, some useful substances will also enter into primary urine. Okay, like glucose, amino acids, salts, and water, large amount of water. Okay, if all these substances along with water passes through our body in the form of urine, we have to excrete 170 liters of water, 170 liters of urine per day. 170 liters of urine is produced per day in our body. Okay, but we are not excreting that much amount of urine through our body. Why? Because here in this renal tubule, reabsorption taking place. Reabsorption of water takes place. That means the water and some useful substances which are present in this urine, when passing through this tube, again enters into this blood vessel. So I already said, no, this is called as peritubular network. The blood vessel which divided into so many branches and coiled around this tube. It is forming like a mesh on this coiled tube. Okay, so the useful substances along with large amount of water will get reabsorbed into this peritubular network. That's why we are not excreting that much amount, is 170 liters of urine per day. And one more thing is, the reabsorption depends on amount of excess water present in our body, and this reabsorption also depends on amount of excess water present in our body. If our body contains sufficient amount of water, then reabsorption process will be low. Okay, why? Because already our body has sufficient amount of water, no need to take more water through reabsorption. If our body does not contain sufficient amount of water, especially during summer season, then more reabsorption takes place. Okay, so the reabsorption depends on how much amount of excess water present in our body, and how much amount of waste material we have to excrete. So in order to excrete waste material, we need a lot of water also. So it depends on amount of waste to be excreted and amount of water present in the body. The reabsorption depends on those two factors. So finally urine is produced here in this tube now. So from this tube the urine enters into this collecting duct, and from collecting duct the urine will pass on to ureters. And the urine which is produced in kidneys passes through these ureters. Urine from this kidney passes through this ureter, and urine from this kidney passes through this ureter. Remember one thing, the urine passes through the ureters in peristaltic movement. So we have learnt in nutrition. So it maintains some constant speed in order to prevent the rupture of the walls of ureter. So urine passes with some constant pressure, with constant speed. That means in peristaltic movement it passes through this ureter and enters into this sac called as urinary bladder. Usually the storage capacity of urinary bladder will be 700 to 800 ml of urine. So after completion, after crossing this limit, urge for urination starts for us. Urge for urination starts for us. Usually the opening of this urinary bladder is called as urethra. This urethra contains one valve also, which is under our control, which is under our nervous control. So whenever this storage capacity reaches and urge for urination starts, then automatically under our wish the valve opens and we will urinate the waste urine. We will get rid of these waste materials from our body in the form of urine. But in case of children and in case of patients, this valve will become involuntary. That means they will urinate frequently without their knowledge. Okay, so that is about excretion in case of human beings. So in this video we have learned introduction of excretion, and we have learned excretion how it takes place in case of human beings by studying the structure of kidneys and also nephrons. So that is our topic today. If you have any doubts, please feel free to ask me in comment section. I'll clarify your doubts. If you find this video useful to you, please like this video and share this video to your friends. Thank you so much for watching. Jai Hind.